Well, everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics. Thanks for being here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Otocinclus Catfish. It can be an awesome fish if you know how to keep it properly. It can cause problems if you don't. Stay tuned and we'll talk more about it. Thanks for being here. So this footage is actually from Dallas North Aquarium. I'm going to put their information down in the description below. If you're in the Dallas area, totally worth stopping by. This is a great display tank that they had filled with all kinds of cool fish. But the one in particular that I want to talk about today is the Otocinclus Catfish. It's awesome. It stays very, very small. It's a very peaceful fish. They're from South America. They're going to max out right around 1.5 inches or so. Now, keep in mind, when we talk about otos, there are dozens of species of otos, and some of them are really cool, like the zebras. Mostly here, I'm going to be showing you the standard otos, but they're great fish. Males, females, for the most part, look the same, and the standard oto is not the most remarkable looking fish, at least in terms of its overall look. This is what you see. What you see is what you get, but what you get is a very small package and a very, very peaceful fish. And I think that's why people love them. They want that algae-eating fish. Maybe they've got a small aquarium or a community tank where they don't want a bristlenose pleco or anything like that. And so this is a really good alternative. They can live a long time as long as you get them through, well, that acclimation period. That is really the challenge for these fish. Is a lot of times when people get them in, they don't do so well. They come in, they get them home, they're very skinny, they haven't eaten in a while, they don't like to have major shocks and water parameter changes. And so sometimes getting them through that first few months when you get them home can be a little bit tough. But if you can get them from a pet store where they look like maybe they've eaten, they're kind of bulking up a little bit, it can really be a fish that can really thrive in the home aquarium. Retail, they're not very expensive. Usually somewhere around, depending on the region, $3 to $6 per fish, which is great because you're actually going to want to keep multiples. And so you're going to want to do at least 6 in an aquarium, but 10, 12, 15 is even better. It just depends on the size tank that you have. Keeping these fish with other fish is really easy to do, provided that the fish are not too large where they're going to eat your otos. And they're not aggressive. Your tank mates aren't aggressive because if they are, they're going to scare your otos and you're never going to see them because they're always going to be hiding. By the way, if you're looking for these fish, check out Flip Aquatics, flipaquatics.com. Their information is in the description below. Great place to buy fish online. If you buy otos from them, they're going to make sure that your otos have been quarantined for at least a couple weeks. They're going to feed them, make sure that they're healthy, and kind of reduce that likelihood that you're going to get fish in that are going to have a harder time acclimating. So keeping these fish with other fish, not that hard. They're really good with rasboras, really good with smaller tetras and cory cats. Honey gouramis would be a great option. If you're looking for a fish that's going to be snail and shrimp and betta safe, this is a really, really good option. They're not mean fish. You could do endlers, you can do guppies, just again, nothing fin nippy, nothing aggressive. I don't like a lot of the larger cichlid options. I mean, some of the small cichlids might be okay, like your Apistogramma, maybe your Nanochromis, that kind of thing. But again, just be really careful with fish that are going to get large enough to eat these guys because they do stay pretty small. Water parameters, really easy. Temperatures, somewhere in the 70s, you're probably fine. I've kept them as high as 80 degrees, worked out okay. pH, they do like a pH that's closer to neutral or even on the acidic side. So if you have that pH that's getting closer to 8, it might not be the best combination with this fish. I know I struggle to keep them because our pH is right around an 8. Our general and carbonate hardness is right around 10 degrees. And so they're really not thriving in those types of water conditions. But if you have that pH that's in the 6s or low 7s, you have water hardness, general, your GH and KH are in that maybe 3 to 8 degrees. These fish can really thrive in those water parameters. Keep in mind, this is a fish, especially the otos, do not like ammonia or nitrite. You need to have a well-cycled aquarium. If you don't know what that means, please check out that video in the upper right-hand corner. It will save you a lot of pain in fish keeping. The food, this is where things get tricky, and I think this is another reason why some people have a hard time keeping otos. They think, okay, this is an algae-eating fish. I'm going to throw it in my tank. It's going to keep the tank clean. Yes and no. This is absolutely an algae-eating fish. However, if you don't have enough algae to feed them, especially if you're keeping 6, 8, 10, 12, you do have to supplement their diet with actual fish food. I love feeding otos algae wafers, especially the Northfin kelp wafers. They will eat sinking pellets, rapashi. So just please, if you don't have a ton of algae in your tank, you are going to have to feed these fish. Otherwise, they're just going to starve. Tank size, I think, is an area on the internet where it's mostly wrong. And let me explain. So a lot of the recommendations, because it's such a small fish, are 10 gallons. Can you do a 10-gallon with the Otos because of their size and activity level? Yeah, I suppose you can. But really, again, if you want to see these fish at their very best, you're going to want to keep them in larger groups than a group of 6, definitely 10, 12 or so. That's going to require a larger tank. And so I really prefer to keep these fish in a 20-gallon or larger, even though they're smaller. It really has to do more with the fact that I want to keep them in a larger group, and I want to have the surface area to feed these fish and make sure that they're getting enough food, especially if there's any algae in the tank, and that's going to really help that. Decorating the tank, as you can see here, Dallas North Aquarium did a great job. So they've got sand substrate. Could you do gravel? Yeah, but anytime you're feeding fish that are going to be bottom feeders and the food falls into gravel, it's harder for them to access. You just wind up with water quality issues. So sand is a really nice option. Doesn't really matter the color of your sand or your substrate. If you go darker, these fish tend to muddy up a little bit and they don't show that vibrant black stripe quite as much, but it's not as extreme as some other fish. Plants, real or fake, are great. Rocks, wood, places for them to just kind of retreat. Lots of surface area for them to graze on and graze on biofilms and things like that would be a really good idea. They don't mind flow. In fact, they wouldn't mind a little flow at all. So if you've got a internal canister filter or you've got a canister filter running in your aquarium, that's fine. Hang on back filter. You're going to see they like to spend a lot of time around that water flow. It doesn't have to be extreme. And if you don't have it, they'll be okay too. So if you're running sponge filters or something like that, they manage just fine. Breeding these fish, it's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world to do. They are egg layers. You are going to want to remove the eggs from the tank because pretty much everything else in the aquarium would eat the eggs, and certainly the fry. If you do happen to have Otos hatch, it's really best just to have a seasoned aquarium where there's going to be algae, where the fry can feed. If you don't have that, and of course, the rapashi or the wafers, the algae wafers are a way to go. So just they have something to eat. But if you don't do that, it can be a little bit hard for them to survive. But these are great fish and certainly one to consider, especially if you've got that pH somewhere in the 6s to low 7s and you don't have super hard water. You've got that community tank. You're looking for something that's going to graze on algae, kind of keep it off your plants, off the glass. And you're willing to feed them if they do such an awesome job that there is no more algae. You've got those peaceful, smaller fish like the rasboras or the really small tetras, maybe endlers or guppies. This fish is going to fit in great, especially if you have snails. So it's a nice fish. Try to find the zebra Otos if you can, because those are going to be a lot more expensive, but also they're going to be pretty cool looking as well. As always, thank you so much for being here. If you want to see some cool tank mates, check out the videos in the upper and lower right-hand corner. Appreciate you being here. We'll see you next week.